Good morning, everybody. My name is Brek Maxon. I'm the Business and Finance Advisor here at the Native American Development Center here in Bismarck, North Dakota. We're at 2403 East Thayer Avenue, Native American Development Center, alongside with our Native Inc. We've got a pretty big complex here. I don't know if everyone has, by chance, popped in over here ever. It's a pretty cool building, but today I have with me, and I want to thank Mr. Jeff Baker for coming in to talk a little bit about his small business. I work with a lot of small business entrepreneurs, and in my background of many years, I was a consultant and packager working with small business people, our Native American entrepreneurs in particular. So I just happened to come upon Jeff over at the Kirkwood Mall running his store. And I was amazed with his business. It's called Rez Famous Lemonade, and right now he's parked at the Kirkwood Mall. And I guess, Jeff, what we'll do is I'm gonna just turn it over to you for a little bit. If you want to just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your background, where you come from, and whatnot, and then we'll just keep rolling here.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Brek, for the invite. Naturally, like many Native people, a lot of us are limited on our social speaking skills. But I apologize to everybody. It's been one of those days. And I know whenever we're doing these presentations, if there's any elders over there, I humbly acknowledge you, first of all, and thank you for teaching me certain things. And as far as the younger people, I also welcome you to try to encourage you to keep going, or if you're thinking about it, to attempt it. My name's Jeff Baker. I am an Anishinaabe from the Turtle Mountains. That's how we refer to ourselves. And it's basically the human being from this spot of the earth. Like many tribal nations, that's what your tribal name means, the people of the earth, the loose translation. And so I'm originally from the Dunseith-Belcourt area. Mainly grew up, once I left boarding school, I was in boarding school for almost 7 years. And in the middle of the 7th grade, I was sent back home, and they never returned me to South Dakota. So I was kind of unknown to a lot of my own community members. Some of them remembered me, but from 1st to 7th grade, I was in boarding school. So I don't really speak like a lot of people from that area. That surprises many people, because I don't have that French intonation. Unless I'm hanging around with them, then I do. And so I graduated from Dunseith High School in 1979, so I'm an old guy. I wasn't really, when I left boarding school, I was studious, but when I went into public school, it was kind of a little more relaxed. So I wasn't the best student. I guess I would be called average. I have certain skills, comedy, verbal, and things like that. So I wasn't a horrible student, but I just was an average guy. Why? My mother encouraged me and said, get your basic education. That's a great tool in life. So that's kind of what I did. I didn't have anybody else really encourage me and say, hey, would you consider going to college? Would you do anything post-secondary? So I was kind of like lackadaisical about it. I figured I'd just be a worker bee all my life. So that's kind of what I did. And then I decided to attempt college. I have a BA out of University of North Dakota, Grand Forks, Indigenous Studies, and a minor in psychology. It was supposed to be a double major, but I became a father, so I was a stay-at-home dad until my daughter started preschool and such. Then I went back and got my degree. So there's a 7-year stretch where I just worked and took care of my daughter. And then once I got my degree, I transitioned to a tribal college institution. I worked with NASA grants, Project Crystal, trying to recruit post-secondary and medical personnel to come to rural and socioeconomically challenged areas, which reservations are. So I worked with our tribal college for like 12 years. I also worked with our tribal government just to try to facilitate economic development within our boundaries. And I also worked with the United States Census in 2010 as a tribal partnership specialist. And I guess you'd call me a gunslinger. I went around to North Dakota and South Dakota reservations trying to get acknowledgement into the Census Bureau's numbers and the impact on Native America. For every tribal citizen that we missed, we lost out basically $10,000 over a 10-year period. And I tried to explain to the tribal membership that we have to record everybody, otherwise we lose all that funding for schools, infrastructure, our roads, our medical facilities. Every tribal person that we missed, we lost out $10,000 worth of funding. And it's difficult because a lot of tribal people don't trust the federal government, and that's historically accurate. But when we've always been underfunded and victimized by the system that always brags about here to assist us. So when you're a struggling family of tribal people and you're trying to stay warm and live somewhere versus homelessness, we tend to overcrowd our housing situation. We slide our relatives and grandkids and nieces and nephews in our homes without the tribal housing authorities' acknowledgement. Why? Because they always want to throw us out just like the pilgrims. And our humanity says, I'm not going to let my relative freeze to death or starve to death on the street. I'm going to take them into my teepee, or wigamig, as we say in Ojib. So to get that historical trauma and distrust to help ourselves is a difficult task. And I was charged with that when I was with the Census Bureau. So that's just a basic squib of some of my professional life. And so, I've worked within the institutions, and I find that each one of them has a dysfunction, irregardless of what the title is. The IHS is dysfunctional. The school system is dysfunctional as far as administrative regulations with the state and federal in that sense. Our tribal governments are dysfunctional. Why? Because they follow the European version of implementation. And that has never been a tool for us. It's always been a weapon against us. And I say that because it locks you into things. You can't do things that are meant to be fruitful or productive or humanitarian when you're working within the federal system. It's just not what it's designed for. It's designed for control and manipulation of the masses, basically. That's my opinion. But if you've ever tried to do something and work within the federal system, they'll give you a 15-pound book of regulations and tell you if it's not in there, you're not allowed to do it. And we've latched onto that in many ways. And so therefore we're stuck in that, the mud of the bureaucracy. So I decided I didn't like that anymore. I hate being in an office. So I thought, well, I better figure something out. And this transitions into my current business. It's not mine per se. When my youngest daughter, wanted to do some fundraising for fall season and school clothing, she asked me, Dad, I want to raise some money to buy some clothes for the fall. I said, okay. Well, what do you think? Well, I want to try to figure something out. I said, well, kick around some ideas. And we thought about this, thought about that. And she said, I want to do lemonade. I said, well, we can't do kitty lemonade. We could, but that's not what we're used to. I said, we've seen the freshly made version of Weiler's powdered stuff. I said, if we're going to do it, that's what we need to do. So we experimented, I and my daughter, just trying to figure out how to do a freshly prepared lemonade. And we arrived at what we both agreed was a basic little good tasting lemonade. So it's on our menu board. It's called Tradish. Everything is focused around the tribal life. When we first came out, her name is Aja. And so I put Aja and lemonade together and came up with Ajanade, freshly twisted lemonade. And
Nice.
so that's how we started that first couple of years. And we just set up at the powwows where we could. And we just did basic traditional lemonade. And then the second year, we did the same thing and kind of got a little notoriety locally anyway. And she decided that, you know, she was going to kind of transition out of it. So I said, well, I can't run it as Ajanade because you're no longer part of the thing. I said, but I'll cut you in as a partner anyway. So I thought about it. And then my ex-sister-in-law at the time had told me about this lady that was renowned in their homeland for bringing this awesome potato salad to wakes and funerals. And they referred to it as Wake Famous Potato Salad. So I was sitting there one day in the middle of the winter, probably third year in, and it clicked. And I said, well, we're reservation based and we got to figure out a new name. So I came up with Rez and World Famous Lemonades. That's the official title, but we shortened it to Rez Famous Lemonades. And I decided to add flavoring. So everybody loved blue raspberry. That's what I noticed. But we couldn't do that if I was going to brand it anything. So I came up with blue raspberry. And I'm the only one that ever uses that term. I'm the inventor of it, and I claim it. And because I tell people we live on the reservation. It's all according to us, not anybody else. So it's our branding and our philosophy. And then I just started thinking of names. It just click, click, click came into my mind. Yeah. We have a flavor called Krabby Apple Sour, and there's a little squib under there named after my ex. And she asked me about it a few years later, and I said, oh, that was the girlfriend after you, babe. So, and I have Great Granny Gangster. I named that after my mother because she wasn't afraid to fight for her children and physically have altercations with people if she had to. And I admired that. She was a single parent for most of my life. I had one stepdad. And I admired her for that. So I said, that's straight up gangster. So it's Great Granny Gangster is named after my mother.
Oh, boy.
And then we have Dangerous Strawberry Daiquiri. That's just a label because everybody knows what a daiquiri is. And so we just we have like 40 different names. And they all have a meaning. They're not just labels. And I think that's what sets us apart. We try to be unique. And in our presentation, in our business philosophy, nothing's set in stone, but we try to add our own tribal twist to it. That's what we try to do. So a lot of our flavors will have powwow based or community based. You know how teasing, how tribal people always tease and josh around. So a lot of that has melded into our flavor menu, etc.
It's so neat that, everything that you've talked about thus far about the business, it just seems so organic. It's not just, well, I just pulled an idea out of the sky. It just seems so, because of your relationships and your own experiences, you're wrapping those into this business, and it's personal for you, it's just not some corporate thing, just slap a name on it and away you go. So it is really kind of cool, how your philosophy here, how you're doing your business. It's not just, it is personal to you, and you're sharing this with the public, all of these cool names for all of your products. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. When people ask me about, I want to start a business or I'm thinking about this idea, and I try to encourage them and I tell them, well, first of all, be careful what you wish for, because a small business and any business venture is a lot of hard work and you have to earn it. It's not going to just land in your lap unless you have an angel out there that's going to throw money at you. And that was probably the most difficult thing for us as we just started. I used to explain to non-Indians that tribal nations have what you call a coffee can economy and banking system. We don't go to banks, one, because we never used them. Two, they never afforded us opportunities a lot of times. They would say, well, you have no credit history. Why should we believe you, etc. So I just kind of tell people, you're going to have to self-fund it. And that's what we did. A difficult concept for a lot of tribal people is to reinvest that money into your business and your opportunities. And so I've always had the philosophy, if we're going to continue on, we have to continually reinvest our proceeds back into our business. So that's what we've done. And that's really difficult because I've heard friends of mine that went out and did a powwow celebration, just a temporary pop-up type business. And they'll say, well, we made $3,000. Well, that was your gross proceeds, but then you have to take out all your operating expenses, your fee to enter the powwow, cost of your goods. If you purchase them from another vendor, you have to pay them off, all your travel expenses, etc. So you have to consider those things and have a little self-funding monetary tool to use. And a lot of tribal people make a weekend's profit and then they just spend it versus reinvesting. Then they struggle again for the next celebration. Yeah. So I try to encourage people to, put a good percentage away so that you can go to the next celebration. You have money for travel expenses. If you need a hotel room or a mechanical breakdown, you have money to cover it. And so that's a economic tool that a lot of tribal people underestimate, I'd say. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so we just kept going little by little, because I used to haul everything around in a little ugly Toyota, a 10 by 10 pop-up tent, some sidewalls, some tables, some coolers. And that's how we did it for a couple of years until a friend of mine had a little used bus. And he said, I got this bus. And I thought, well, that could work for my business. So I bought it and used it for a couple of years. And then mechanically it broke down, so I had to get another one. And so I've been utilizing used buses for the business. It's a lot easier to drive up, quicker to set up, etc. I serve out of the generally handicapped door. I'll take the lift out and I'll use that. It's an option that I've utilized. Other people like to tow behind a truck, pull behind, which is a good option too. Because if you have a pull behind and something happens to the trailer, you can leave it there temporarily, go get the parts, come back, load it back up and leave. When you're in a food truck, you're kind of stuck. Once that truck has a mechanical breakdown, you're kind of stuck. And I've been in that with my bus. But luckily, I have basic mechanical skills, so I can do most of it. Some of it I have to farm out.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to kind of consider what's your base of operation and how you're going to do it as part of it.
So that brings me to this. It was striking, the first time I saw you and your business, your lemonade stand. There's got to be a story about where did you get that thing? If everybody saw the flyer, I took a picture and included that on the flyer of Jeff's stand there with the big lemonade. And where did you go for that?
Well, this one I actually purchased for my youngest granddaughters. I'm hoping they'll follow me into the business. They're the only ones that seem to share my interest in it. They're thinking about it, but they're kind of young, 13 or 12 and 15. So I actually bought it for them. I haven't had no plans of using this. I was aware of the lemon itself from a friend of mine. I helped him a few years back. He bought one, had some financial issues, so he used it as a loan from me for his thing. So I used this lemon before a couple of years back, and I returned it to him as part of our business agreement. And I thought, well, it'd be a little kitschy thing. And this one came up for sale. It's used, but it's well taken care of. And an associate out of Indianapolis had it, so I went down there and bought it this past fall. I just took all the money I had saved up, and I thought it'd be a worthy investment, and so I went and bought it, brought it back up, and I was thinking, last year I put a different stand in the mall. It was kind of a retro stand, pop-up, half moon shaped. It was a nice little stand, but this one I thought was more conducive to lemonade sales. So in the end of October, I reached out to the mall management. They said, yeah, we were surprised how popular you were last year, so we'll invite you back. And so rather than put the stand in storage for the winter, I decided to use it, take it for a test run.
Yeah.
So they agreed, and I've been in there since November. I'm there until the end of this month, and March 31st. Our contract runs out, and I have my summer schedule. So that's what I'm planning on doing: powwows and street fairs and car shows.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, speaking of powwows, so that's going to fill your calendar up pretty much. So in your mindset then, just what is a typical day like for you, because we know like you just said, you're planning for the powwows, the car shows, all these other events. What's running through your mind as an entrepreneur? Do you have to kind of pick and choose your events, plan out and schedule months out in advance? Just give everybody kind of a flavor of just a typical day for Jeff, what you're doing as a lemonade salesman here.
Okay. Yeah, well, the game has changed since we started. There's a lot of people that are out there now trying to replicate what we're doing. Before, I was one of the only ones that was selling lemonade. Now there's probably 5 to 10 people at the powwow all doing the same thing. So the dynamics of lemonade sales have changed quite a bit. Luckily for us, we've built up a clientele and a return customer base based on our product and our business relationships. I have some of the most loyal customers, and I appreciate them every day. And I tell them that when I post sometimes, that I have the most wonderful, crazy, laughing customers in the world, because natives, we just love to laugh and gossip and talk, and I think I have some of the best customers in the world, and I brag them up all the time. And so with that, sometimes people expect me to show up, and I try every year. I kind of have a set schedule the last few years. Each powwow, sometimes they change committee members every year. They're given the honor of working through their celebration. So sometimes you have to try every year to go back to the same celebration. And if you're lucky, you get in. Sometimes it's not as easy as we hoped. I only do one celebration where you're allowed to put a small deposit down for next year's celebration. That's Rosebud Fair. And I've been doing that for a few years. I like that process. But then again, it's always a gamble. So you do have to think out which celebration you want to do, etc. And other people have begun to offer opportunities, but I like the Nimi Win, or what cheap be that the Lakota relatives call it. We call it a big dance, Nimi Win. And I like that. That's where our people are. It's there's power, there's energy, there's laughter, there's beauty there, and I like that environment. That's the most natural place I want to be. So I contact committee members, see if it's a possibility. If not, then I got to go to Plan B, because there's a celebration going on everywhere all the time on the weekends for Tribal America. So it's like, if one opportunity is not there, you go to the next. And the Moccasin Telegraph, they tell you, hey, there's a powwow going on here or there. They send you invites. People share nowadays on Facebook the celebration posters, etc. So that's a good networking tool. So with that, like I stated earlier, you have to have a reserve amount to be able to start up. It's getting pretty costly in some of the celebrations for a weekend. You could pay up to $1,200 for 2.5 days, or basically 2 days, because they're half and half on Friday and Sunday. And you can go down to $300 for the weekend. That's rare nowadays. Usually it's $500 on up just to set up. So you'll have to have, your entry fees. And then for me, a typical day as well, I have to make sure I have enough of my flavorings. I pre-order those. And the cost of doing business nowadays, everybody knows the cost of living, and supplies have basically doubled to quadrupled in some cases. Plastic cups, flavorings, shipping. Not too many companies give free shipping anymore. A couple of mine do. So you have to pre-order all of that stuff. You have X amount of shows where your product will last X amount of days, etc. So I have to pre-order my lemons. The ice I generally pick up in the community where I am visiting for the weekend. So in the morning, the night before you go to the powwow, you try to get there early, park in the designated spot, or pick one out, depending on the committee. And you park there, you get set up, you put your signage out, you get ready. If you have shore power, you plug into the powwow power and make sure everything's working, your deep freeze or your lighting, etc. And then you just kind of hang around until the powwow starts. But during my typical day, I get up with the sun, unfortunately. So you get a couple hours of sleep. Generally, if I can, I do a little prep work, get ready. And by 11 o'clock, most powwows, you try to be open, even though the grand entry is 1 o'clock. So you have that 11 to 1 where you're trying to get things going. So you get up at 6, 7 o'clock, you take care of some business. If you have to run into town to grab stuff, you do that. And then, get yourself ready for the day. And then you open up at 11 o'clock, and generally you have a line, or sometimes it starts slow, but generally if they know you and like you and want your lemonade, they'll show up early. And then you just go like a buffalo hunter and slay what you can all day long. It's nonstop for me. So I eat on the run. I don't get breaks. Very rarely. In 20 years of doing this, I think I got to sit down maybe this many times and eat a meal with the community.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like Twin Buttes. Is one. Newtown. They feed us well. The 3 affiliate tribes are the most hospitable and generous people, I think, as far as feeding. That's why I'm getting this big tizzy here. Because in their tradition, they feed the guests and campers, and they're just awesome. But those are the only communities where I actually get to sit and eat. Generally, I work right through everything from start to finish. I'll just grab a bite while I'm working. And so you go from 11 a.m. Many times to 1 a.m. next morning. Sometimes 2 o'clock, but generally midnight to 1 a.m. And I work by myself, so I don't, there's limited room in my vehicle. I know my process. I'm just going to bang it out.
Yeah, you're an Iron Man. Holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's every weekend. And then you have travel time between, if you got to go Wednesday to Thursday, you just, whatever the timeline requires. So
right.
That's my day. I just bang it out and keep going, and it's just what I have to do. Now, if you go into food service, you'll probably have a crew. So you might get a break depending on, and different businesses have different opportunities. If you do clothing, like anything else, your setup is time. You take time to set up your display, your product, your 10 by 10, 10 by 20 display, or if you have a vehicle, you back it in and set your display up for the start of the pop-up. And then you break that all down at the end and go on to the next show. So physically, I think doing lemonade's a lot harder than people give a thought about, because it's physical. You're doing everything by hand. And I tell people it takes a little longer, but each drink is individually made and it's prepared freshly. It's not a can of Coke that's been sitting on a shelf for 3 to 6 months, And then we add all the ingredients together. So it's not chemically manipulated like soda, where they use corn syrup and it floats and you don't have to stir it. Rez style lemonade, we use hard sweetener and we shake it up and we give it to you, and then you got to stir it. That's just part of our recipe. And everybody does it a little differently, but some people like that, some don't. And I tell people we're willing to do anything for the customer. We can add more sweetener, we can add more flavoring, we could no ice to extra ice. We'll, customer is our backbone, so we'll try to accommodate any way we can within reason.
Right.
We can't satisfy everybody, and we don't make that claim. We just say we'll do our best to give you what you want, and hopefully you'll come back. And 99.9% of the time, they do return. And I think the most complimentary thing is we tried everybody else, and we like yours, and we'll be back. And I appreciate that. And I think that's a good compliment to what we had started, what we continue.
Mm-hmm. So it's fresh squeezed, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Awesome.
My shoulders are starting to wear out after 20 years of doing it. So I'm trying. I've incorporated some tools to help me, arthritis, etc. So I use a mechanical system that takes the process off my shoulders and my hands, because your hands, if you repetitive motion injury is a big thing for me, and I think I'm starting to get that after 20 years. So I've tried to I've constantly thought of ways to speed it up and do it better and do it quicker, and it's just you can't physically. So I've checked out mechanical stuff, tools and implements, and I've got some new stuff I'm trying to utilize, but it's just difficult because a lot of people don't like change. And so with that, we're going to try some stuff, some mechanical tools to help us speed up the process and change our cups up. I think I've got a new formula where my 32-ounce cup, we might change to a different style of cup that will work with the other machinery I've purchased to try to just speed it up. Because I admire my customers, because when it's 90 degrees out, they'll stand there, and I go gangbusters. I don't waste time, and people don't understand that sometimes customers order 6 to 8 drinks, so I got to make 8 drinks for one customer. They forget that back of the line. So and I really go as hard as I can. So this hopefully will speed it up. Mm-hmm. And so you have to constantly manipulate your business one way or the other. I use guerrilla marketing, as much as I can. I'll print something up if I've got a new flavor, etc. And guerrilla style is you do whatever you can to get the word out and present your product, etc. But there's only so much humanly possible to make everything ideal and perfect and just so sweet that nothing happens. I've noticed that when I use mechanical things, they break. So I constantly battle that. I've tried things before, haven't had luck. So old school works for me most of the time, but now I'm trying to incorporate more modern things to help me speed the process up a little more. And my customers, to put it in perspective, this has only happened to me, and I notice these things. There's been a couple times where there will be a 15 or 20-minute rain shower, and all the other vendors and the community will scatter and hide under the tarps and the canopies of the powwow, and my customers will stand in the rain for my lemonade. And I admire that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen to anybody else, but they'll stand because they know that wait sometimes is an hour, but they'll stand there. And like I said, I'm hustling gangbusters to get them through so they don't have to stand in the hot sun, and I can't put up a great big canopy because the powwow committee says, oh, you can't do that. And even if you put up a shade, it's only 8 feet out. There's still 30 feet of people in the hot sun. So as I, as much as I want to, I try to speed or go through as fast as I can because I don't want my relatives and my family to suffer in the hot sun, but I can't do anything about it, but they'll stand.
I have to say, from personal experience, I stopped in at your store at the mall. I think it was just before Christmas there, right around Christmas time, and I got the Grinch, was the green one that you were advertising, and my wife and I, she said, "Yeah, I get that one." So I brought that home to her, and she didn't really know much about it either, but I just, hey, let's try it. So we taste tested it, and we were just, wow, just miles apart in difference, and just like a regular lemonade and with what you guys offer. And I did really appreciate, because every Christmas in our family, kind of a tradition, we'll watch the Grinch cartoon or whatever. But I remember you had like the green Grinch flavored lemonade, which was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a question in the chat here. Wondering what is the current price range of the lemonades, for the different sizes? What's the price ranges for your lemonades right now? What are they going at?
Okay, well, last year, because of the world change, I raised my prices first time in 20 years. And I apologize to my customers on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Rez Famous Lemonade. And I told them the world is changing and I have to raise my prices. And so what we do is 16 ounces, $5, 24 ounces, $7, 32 is $10, 44 is $12. The bedwetter is $15. And then I've gone up to a 1 gallon cup called the Big Rezzer, and that's $30. That's a gallon of lemonade. It'll, 6 people, I give them 6 straws with it.
Yeah. Holy cow.
And and a lot of people say $30. I had people order 2 of them at once. They said, we want this for our family, and we're taking an extra one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, we're unique in that sense. Like the 44 ounces named after my friend, and he was an old school reservation hustler carny for years, Benny.
Mm-hmm.
Benny's Concessions. And he asked me one time, he said, when are you going to name something after me? So the 44 ounce cup is called the Benny.
Mm-hmm.
I put him on my menu board as a gesture to our friendship. And so the bedwetter is just, I thought about bladder buster, but that was kind of like taken from college days, I think.
Sure.
When we used to go to the pub, and I didn't want that. So the bedwetter is the 64 ounce.
What the heck?
And so that's our pricing, and we don't charge extra for the flavors. If you'll go to a non-Indian stand, they'll charge you extra for the flavors. We just incorporate it all into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our basic pricing structure. I hope I don't have to raise it for another 20 years, but supplies and the world economics and production of things has changed drastically, and so I don't want to say never ever, but I try my best not to raise prices. And like I said, the first time in 20 years, we were kind of forced to, and people have understood, because if you go out 5 guys, you go over there and get 3 double cheeseburgers, fries, and a drink, and it's $70. Mm-hmm. So, they have quality, but they're spendy too, mm-hmm. And you go anywhere else, it's the same thing. It's not that we want to just willy-nilly do it. We take it to heart, especially as a tribal entrepreneur. I try my best to just, I absorb that cost so that my customers can have a good quality product. And I did my best, and I just had no choice. And like I said, I apologize before I even started the season, and people understood.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. I have to comment, there's something, and you are Turtle Mountain. In my almost 30 years of economic development, working with all the various tribes in North and South Dakota, working with individual Native entrepreneurs. I don't know what it is, but Turtle Mountain, little tiny land base area, and but I'm always surprised at how many people I've talked to over the years from Turtle Mountain that are contractors, small business people. It's like there's something in the water up there, or if it's a genetic thing, or I don't know what it is, but there's that entrepreneurial bug in a lot of your people up in that neck of the woods, and they do, move off res and they go around. But I have to commend, uh, the people from your reservation, from your tribe, with that entrepreneurial spirit. I don't know if you've encountered that or noticed that, but just from the numbers of clients that I've had over the years, I think the most of the majority, a lot of them I've worked with are from Turtle Mountain. A lot of them.
Yeah, that's been a popular comment, and I think they've earned it. When I was a young man, I, like many people, said, "Hey, Mom, I'd like to try to do this, and can you help me?" Well, she'd say, "My son, you got 6 other siblings, and I can't, but you can earn it." And so I was always, even in boarding school, they made me clean toilets for $2.85 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd put that in the bank, and hopefully someday I'd figure something out.
Right.
And I got tired of cleaning toilets, so I went to the KP. They called us kitchen patrol. So, and I love to eat. I'm a big eater. I'm a buffalo eater. I eat like a sumo wrestler. And so I switched to that, and I've had a food truck too as a business owner. I love cooking. I can do a quality product, but I couldn't babysit 2 things. And
Right.
I offered the business itself to my relatives, my nephews, nieces, friends. I said, if you want to buy it, put some money down, make the payments. I trust you guys. I know you can do it. You just have to make an effort. And nobody wanted to do it.
Mm.
So I sold it to a non-Indian to liquidate. I should have kept it.
Mm-hmm.
And they came up, made a good, decent offer. I would have given it to my relatives for half the price I sold it to the non-natives, because I wanted them to do it. I wanted to encourage them. I wanted to give them the opportunity, but nobody would step forward. I thought that was tragic.
Mm-hmm.
And for Turtle Mountain people, they were some of the fur trading group of people. So they had commerce a long time ago. They would sell furs to the French and the Anglais, the English, so they could buy food and supplies for their family. You had to get out there and do it, otherwise you starve, or you were around the fort begging for scraps from the non-Indians. And a lot of people have pride in themselves, so they got out there, and 60 years ago they raised chickens to have eggs and to eat, and they hunted and they earned it. So that work mentality, that ethic, has always been in the Turtle Mountains, because you have no choice. It's not that we're any different from any other tribal nation, but up there they said, well, we have commerce, we'll earn our money, and we'll try the non-Indian way, and that's basically what it is.
So maybe just like a little bit of a head start, huh? Um, and that's definitely no slight to any of the other tribes and reservations out there, because there are entrepreneurs all over the place, most definitely. And our people come from a wide range of backgrounds, and like what you said too, I know that my mother and my grandmother, they had gone to the boarding schools, and so there was some installation of some ethic there. My grandmother, my grandparents both went, and they were musicians, and they were in a band, or they had a band, and so there was some entrepreneurial there. But yeah, I don't know, do you attribute maybe some of your boarding school, or is it just something, from our culture or growing up that maybe kind of gave you that little push here? Because, you could have just started with your daughter on the lemonade stand for a few years, raise money for her, and then just let it go. But for you, you decided to carry on with this thing, and I think it was fabulous that you did, especially now that Rez World Famous Lemonade, or Rez Famous, is a brand name that's recognizable. And do you think about, I know, and you've mentioned it, about carrying on the name. Do you have any other family members within your own family, any of your daughters, that are even thinking about keeping the name going, or what do you think?
Well, I'm hoping, like I said, my two youngest granddaughters are the only hope I have. My youngest one, I think, has my entrepreneurial spirit. My second youngest or second oldest grandson, kind of, but he's in that tween years, and he's a worker, but I don't know if he wants to follow me, even though I've kind of said, hey, if you guys are interested in working, maybe you can come out with me for the summer or sometimes and try it, see if you like it. And hopefully I can transition to somebody. If not, it dies with me, and that's what I don't want.
Right.
And I'm only 62, so I got a good 10, 20 years left in me, I think, of shaking lemonades.
Sure.
But I think I find a joy in feeding people. I know in boarding school, when we were hungry, I would sneak fruit out to my friends, and I thought, as a human being, if I could give, and I do, I never talk about it, but for almost 20 years, I've been honoring our veterans with a simple little lemonade for their service.
Oh, yeah.
I also do it for elderly and little kids that don't have money. I just give it to them. That's me. And I'm going to die like that. But
and that's
I
another
talk about it because it bothers my heart.
Yeah. And that is another commendable trait, that we do honor our veterans, our elders, and help our people whenever we possibly can. So, and
it's just hard because we're all emotional. I'm not afraid to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel it's the joy in me that I'm so lucky that I want to give back, and I try. And some people don't see that, and I don't brag about it, but it's one of the blessings I have, and I enjoy it to see little kids. You'd be amazed how big they smile when you give them a little cup of lemonade.
Oh yeah.
And I give back in various ways, and the difference between an entrepreneur and a dreamer is an entrepreneur will jump in. You might fail, but you'll get in. That's the difference. And I tell people, don't be afraid to fail, because you'll do it, but you can dust yourself off, get up and try again. But you learn each time. And I try to encourage people. I said, a monkey could make lemonade, but you better do it better than this monkey.
Yeah.
Be more unique. That's all. You can make lemonade, but just do it better. Do it differently from me, because that will be your branding. That will be your strength. If you're going to sell food, do it the best you can. I make good fry bread and I brag about it. And because there's a lot of people can't do it, but brand it and make it unique so that people want to come back to you. And I think that's the biggest tool in my repertoire. And I always tell people, you have to be willing to get into the scrum of life if you're going to succeed, or if you want to go out on your own. Success is measured in different ways. And I think that people come up to me all over the world and they say, hey, Rez Famous, how you doing? Hey, pretty good. You know, how you doing? When you coming out? And that is the best compliment I've ever, you know, even in my professional life, I was given compliments when I did things for certain entities. But to have a just ordinary person come up to me and recognize me in that sense is a pretty cool thing. And so I always tell people, try. There's no failure in trying. You only fail when you give up. And you can be tied, I say, tethered to the earth. Warriors did that in a sense when they went into battle. In order to protect my family behind me, I'm going to tether and I'm going to fight all of my enemies to the death if necessary to protect my family. And in business, you can do that. And in your professional life, you can do that. You can work for one entity for 20, 30 years and retire. And that's success. If that's what you want to do. To me, that isn't what I wanted to do. I did it. And I thought I liked the freedom of humanity. And that's why I continue on with Rez Famous. I don't know if I'm successful. I know I'm well liked. I love my life and I love the business aspect of it. And I can't think of anything else I'd rather do, you know. And if you want to start a business, if you want to do it, you got to have self-faith and you got to have the thick skull and skin to keep going, because it's not easy. If you have now the transition with modern societies, if you have a good credit history, you can certainly go the non-Indian way and, you know, get a small business loan, etc. And I tell people, take advantage of them. All they can tell you is no, and you're no worse off. You can get seed money. You can get technical assistance, like from the center here. You can get a business plan. We mentioned earlier, I've seen a lot of tribal people say, well, I'm going to start this. But I see the generic business plan that they borrowed off the internet. I've seen them word for word. It's just put their own title on it. Yeah. And that'll work to a certain degree, but it's nothing unique. Take a business plan, structure, formula, and put your parts in there. And I think that's will give you a greater percentage of success in a sense. If you just use a watered down generic version of somebody else's plan, then you know, it might give you an opportunity to start, but how does it continue, give you the opportunity and the strength and the uniqueness to continue on? I think that's, you know, I could have done that. But I like freestyling, and I never utilized any of that stuff. I just self-funded, kicked around, bought my own tools to use, and that's all I could have done, I think, in a sense. And but I'm getting older. Do I want a storefront? I think I kind of like that, you know. But I also like the opportunity of moving around until I absolutely can't move. Then I'll think about a storefront, you know.
Right.
But
right.
I just hope that people will continue, because I always say, if you're dependent on another man or another institution for your life, if that man dies or that institution shuts its doors, what are you going to do? Can you feed yourself? Can you take care of your family? Can you do those things? And if you're dependent on another man, that tool of survival is taken away. So I want you to think in terms of, you know, be independent, be strong, and just keep going and keep reinvesting in your own business, your own spirit, your own opportunity, because nobody else is going to do it generally.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a loan, pay it off, and it builds to the next opportunity, the bigger loan or bigger business you want to keep going. And I think that's a good tool for the younger generation. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Like I said, people approach me and said, well, what's your idea? Here's some of my suggestions. Here's how you can possibly do it. But you got to do the work. And don't depend on people. That's another thing. One of the reasons I'm a one-man show is that when I've tried to employ other people, they've had family issues, health issues, and commitment. I have to commit to myself every day to get up and go do it. And if they don't feel like working, or if they have family issues, I understand that, but give me a call, let me know, and it's all good. But in my food truck business, if they didn't show up, it was a wash for the day. You can't, if you're going to be successful in business, you got to get in there. I do 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
In the summertime. In the wintertime, I've been doing 6 or 7, depending on how I feel. And that's what I do 7 days a week. So it's not easy. You give up a lot of family time and stuff. But I can also take it off if necessary. If there's an emergency, I can shut down for the day, and next day I can try again.
Yep.
But when you're locked in some situations, they don't even. I found that humanity gets lost when you're in an institution, because some non-Indians don't care if your parent, your sibling, anybody dies. They don't care. They're about making money. So, and as a tribal person, I have more understanding. Okay, well, if you need, I'll see you tomorrow. And if they don't show up, then you get frustrated, But that, I think that's why I do it all by myself. I can depend on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, basically it in a nutshell, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's entrepreneurialism, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and I know that's been one of my little cliche mantra things, that I will tell, sitting across the desk from a potential entrepreneur or small business person, that wants to get going on an idea. Some of them, they do get intimidated by that business plan, paper chasing to get started. But, I try to convey to them that this is kind of your trial by fire. If you can't even get this business up and running, then, you might have to reevaluate yourself as an entrepreneur. Do you have the stick-to-itiveness, and do you have the desire and the drive, to want to do this and be successful? Or do you just want to be a 9-to-5, individual, which is okay, but are you truly going to be happy? If you're leaving this on the table, and in your heart, hey, I've got this awesome idea. I know it can fly, and I would be happy. This is where I belong. So, I really, just try to, sometimes it takes a little prodding and support and cheerleading, etc. Whatever you can do to light the fire under that person across the desk from you that's thinking about this business. Don't give up. Don't give up. And then the other thing too, doing the cookie cutter, not a good idea. You better know your market. You better know your customers. You better know the business of whatever you're going into. Who are your competitors? All of the different, the strengths and weaknesses, the SWOT opportunity, chart that you can pull up, of what are the things that you need to be ready for when you jump into that arena of small business, big business. You can't go in half-heartedly, or you're going to get run over. So, I applaud you, Jeff. Yeah, you know what your market is. You know what you're after. Like you said, you used to be the only gun in town, and all of a sudden all these other ones show up. But you've got name recognition. You've got a track record. You have an excellent, awesome product. Those are going to stand out amongst all the other competitors.
Yeah, I think that's, and you can't really worry about other people. That's a thing I try to tell others to do you. If you believe in what you're going to do, your business, your opportunity, if you worried about everybody else, because I see how territorial people are, I've seen that, and I know how vengeful some people can be and how we snipe at each other sometimes. And the reservation is no different.
Mm-hmm.
But I always tell them, go for it. You can't worry about the gas station down the road. Why? Because there's another one a few miles down the road. You can't worry about that other food stand because there's another one just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do what you believe in? Try your best. Do the best quality, and you stand a chance. Repeat business is your backbone of any business. And if you treat your customers with humanity and a certain amount of respect, they'll return.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, we josh around a lot when we're in line. We joke, and I think that's the best medicine for me because sometimes you do get stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's like being hangry. You're hungry, you're tired, you're crabby, but you keep going. And
Yeah.
I have to correct myself a couple of times because I'm busy hustling and they'll want me to do this and that. And it's like, and I have to catch myself because as a human being, there's only so much you can take and you just get kind of
Mm-hmm.
burnt out. But you try to be cognizant of that. And you take a deep breath, smile, and keep going.
Right.
And that's the grind a lot of people don't understand either. In my working with other friends that were food vendors and stuff, and you can see how beat and how hot it is when they're working, and they'll be sitting just burnt out during their break. And I watch that and I think, man, those guys were working hard, but so was I. Just a different business, but I understood how beat they were because I go through that too. At the end of a 12, 13-hour day, you're beat up, and there's little snippets. I've seen business people that were really cool, and then I've seen other business people that were kind of, no personal skills, kind of standoffish. And that's not the right attitude when you're in business. You try your best and don't let it get to you too often.
Right.
And you'll stand a great chance of success. And just be a good human being. And I think that's the best thing I've experienced.
Oh yeah.
I
got a
think
comment.
it's all about the money, and that's an important tool, but it's not the be all.
Exactly.
Because if a non-Indian saw me, how much I gave away and the mistakes I've made, he'd fire me. But as a tribal person, it's all right. I'm sharing humanity sometimes, and I'll sleep better at night knowing that somebody that was thirsty or hungry, I was able to help them, and somebody that might not have been having a good day, and if I tell them a joke and they feel better leaving my stand, well, that's all right.
There you go.
That's all you can do. I can't walk on water, never profess to be. I'm not the best business person out there. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the greatest, but I'm me. That's all I can do is be Jeff.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think that is one of those things that attract, customers. They especially your repeat customers, the people that know you, gotten to know you over the years. Definitely. And I have a comment here from one of the gal in the gallery here. Thanks, Jeff, for the knowledge of the economic side of your presentation. It is good that we have our people out there striving, and it is. And definitely, I grew up on Standing Rock, and I'm enrolled up at MHA though. But darn it, in all the years that I've been doing this and on the economic development side, it warms my heart when I see more of our people, taking a run at this. whatever the case may be. You could be a farmer, rancher, you know, that's entrepreneurialism too, whatever it is, you know, starting a business. You've got to, you know, everybody has their own style. I guess that's what I'm striving at, you know, and you have developed yours, you have, you know, yours, you know, organically from your, you know, your childhood on up, and we are who we are, you know. And if you know, follow some basic small business tenets and I guess be aware of the world that we live in, like you mentioned, which is very true. Yeah, this world is I believe we live in historic times, and a lot of people are sleepwalking through it right now. They don't even realize what's going on and what's possibly going to happen in the very near future here.
I've noticed that with some of the younger tribal people.
Mhm.
They were glad that I was in the mall. They said, you're one of the few natives that's ever made it through the door. And there's MHA, I think they're selling tribal blankets, etc. They've been in the mall a couple times, and they're pretty cool too. You know, nice products. But the younger ones said, "There's actually a native in the mall, right on." You know, and I said, "Well, you know, I hope I open the door. You just follow me in any way you can, you know." And that's one of the things too that I notice the younger people are actually excited that a tribal person is doing business inside of the mall. You know,
Right.
we have 2 of them now, so at least till the end of the month. And hopefully they'll extend the welcome back next fall. So I might be able to do this again next winter.
Okay.
And it depends on the lemon if my granddaughters want to do anything with it. I like my bus personally. Why? Because it's recognized. It's easier for me. I can offer more product. The little lemon is confining. It was built by a non-Indian to do like generic classic lemonade, just what they know as lemonade, a regular lemonade. So it's limiting in that sense. When you start adding all the stuff I do, it's just so small for me.
Right.
Hopefully I can find a happy medium. So
how many trailers do you is this do you take this one on the road out to the powwows, or do you have a different food truck? Or because we know how dusty and dirty and everything can get, you know, on the powwow circuit.
Yeah, well, this is newly acquired. I only got this in
the
end of October, so it's first time it's been out for me and my family. And I'm hoping, like I said, if my granddaughters don't want to do it, you know, I might try to figure out where we can drag it around, but I'm probably going to stay with my bus. If not, I could use my bus as a tow vehicle and pull this one behind. You know, it's up in the air. It's in flux for a little while yet before the full-blown powwow season starts.
Right.
So we'll have to see. There's a few things in flux there, and I mean, I could utilize it to a certain degree, but it's limiting for my business model in that sense.
You know, would you, since you've got the other alternate trailer, I mean, I'd be sad to see you go. It's too bad you couldn't hire somebody, or if not a family member, you know, a trusted employee or other individual to keep that persistent presence at Kirkwood Mall. You know, it's a high traffic. I don't know what they charge you per month or what their agreement is with you, but darn it.
Well,
it'd be cool to see you year round.
Yeah, I've thought about it, but they're changing their lease structure. I don't know if it's new management up higher up with the national mall owners, but they're changing that, so I'll have to explore it. I'd love to be there too, but in this little setup, it's not conducive because you have to be hooked up to city water, the water spigot to run the faucets in it. So I'm old schooling it like I was at the POW at the first time, 5-gallon pail, and and that's you know, allowable by health standards because I bring it from the store. But so in that sense, I'd love to be there, but you know, we'll have to explore that. I don't know how they could how they could hook me to municipal water in that little lemon there. That's not an option right now.
Okay.
But if not, I'll come back and set it up in Old School at all next winter if they want me back, so it's just one of those things we're going to have to work with it, manipulate it. And if not, I can always explore a storefront and put the lemon close or something,
Right, right. So we're coming down to the bottom of the hour here. We've got a few minutes left. We have Levi in the room here. Levi, do you have any questions for Jeff? If you're available, are you there? Can you hear us? You might have stepped away. Oh, he's typing. Give him a few seconds here. No questions. Okay, thanks, Levi. Well, we really appreciate, you being here, Levi, and all of our other guests. I know everyone's on different schedules, and some people pop in, some people were able to hang with us all the way through. That's awesome. Before we close down, I think Jeff knows a little bit about us. Levi, if you or anyone in your family has any interest in starting a small business, you're more than welcome to give me a call. I am available here at the Native American Development Center here in Bismarck, 2403 East Thayer Avenue. We have a nice complex here. We also have Native Inc. on the other side, and our mission, is it's helping our people. So we have people in all walks of life. We have people who are transitioning from the reservation into the city, and we're here to help them. A lot of people are also the homeless. We were for a time, they're really seeing a lot of that, but also people that they need a roof over their head, working with them, helping them to find all the resources they need here too. So on my side over here at Native American Development Center, we have two programs. We have the Credit Builder Loan Program for our Native individuals, consumers who need some help. Maybe picking up their FICO score, or they've got some dings on their credit report and they just want to help, fix some of those things. I can be of assistance. We have a consolidation of debt loan program. That Credit Builder loan program goes up to $3,000. If you've got, let's say you got some car repairs, or you've got credit cards or payday loans that are in arrears and you're suffocated by some of this stuff, we can help a little bit with that. Up to $3,000. It's a loan. You've got to have a job to pay it back. And once you do, we call the credit bureaus and tell them, hey, our clients paid off their loan. What can we do and hopefully that will push the algorithm to push their FICO score up and clean some things off of their credit report. So that's one program. The other program is our micro enterprise loan program, where we assist our Native entrepreneurs coming through here that want to get started, and it's at the micro level. We only go up to 20,000. Now, some of our tribes in the area here, like for instance, Standing Rock has up to 50. We're working on a project with them right now to put together some of our resources and some of their resources to help a client of ours get their small business going. So we're excited about that. Teaming up with the Oyate Fund down on Sitting Bull College, Jonathan Anderson is in charge down there on that with his loan committee. But by all means, give us a call. I can be reached at 701-712-7284. That's my direct line. Don't have to go through switchboard. And also too, I know I sent an email out to everybody, and I will do a follow-up email to everybody, those that were here and those that were not even. I'll just make sure they know where I'm at, here to help. And I really want to thank you again, Jeff, for being our guest today. I'm hoping to post this up on YouTube too, so we can spread the word about your mission, your philosophy, your story. And we get more of our to inspire more of our Native entrepreneurs out there. We'll hopefully have it posted on our NADC website too, so it'll be easy for people to find it. So, any closing comments, Jeff?
No problems. Just hopefully you'll edit out the parts where I had those big moho bubbles blowing and stuff. But yeah, anytime I can try to encourage people, certainly you know, I'm willing. I've done it before, and there's no harm in trying. And I always tell tribal people, I said, just go for it. And if you want, if something's not, I have the ability to think outside of the teepee, as I say, outside of the box. Bing, 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 bing. I can give you quick hits, and that surprises a lot of people, but it's part of the process too. You have to be adaptable to any situation, any climate, any economic tool or weapon that's in the way of your success. You got to be able to shuffle around it, weather it, or push it aside, and that'll guarantee your success to a greater degree, I think. And
so
like I said before, just try. That's the most important thing. Go for it. It's baby steps. I used to jog all the time. It took me a long time because I was a sprinter. I had to teach myself how to run a mile, then 5 miles, then 12 miles. But it took me a self-learning, self-teaching to do that. And business is like that. You start out with baby steps, keep building. Eventually you'll get to where you're established and successful. And then you can go for long-range accomplishments. If you want to do a storefront, if you want to start a food truck, if you want to start a clothing or a jewelry store, you'll have those tools established until you get to that point. But it starts small, think big, stay solvent, and it should work out. You know? And so your family, I hope, will support you, and your community. I think if you earn their respect and show them that you're a worthy business for them, that they'll certainly help you out.
Excellent. Jeff, real quick too, before we shut it down, where can people find you? Where should they look for you if they want to find your schedule and see where you're going to be operating next after Kirkwood?
The main tool I use for updates is Rez Famous Lemonade on Facebook. That's my main thing. Until I transition elsewhere, that's my main informational thing, and you can get a hold of me through there and leave me a message, and I'll certainly respond whenever it shows up, because sometimes with Straight Talk I don't get messages right away, but they show up and I'll certainly respond within a short amount of time. And that I tell people which celebration I'm going to, or if they want to midweek ask me to do something, because people are starting to ask about little graduation things, etc. And I'm willing to try if it'll fit in my schedule. The earlier, the better. Right. Because in midsummer, I'm usually, you know, I've got my circuit figured out. But generally, my Facebook page, Rez Famous Lemonade, is my main tool for notification. Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody that was on today, to get to hear Jeff's message about small business, entrepreneurialism, his philosophy on small business. And also just a reminder, if anybody out there is interested in Native entrepreneurs out there, please, give me a call, 701-712-7284. We definitely want to sit down and visit with you and see if we can help you out. And if I can't, I definitely have a tool of resources to point you in the right direction as well. So. Yep, and I think that's important. You have the Oyate. They had some down in Rapid City and I think Eagle Butte. There's various funding opportunities out there. I think originally with Northwest, they had some tribal business funding set up. So you can explore those, and every tribal nation should have some. It's just a matter of asking and the networking. They'll get you some funding sources, but you got to earn it, your business plan, etc. Show that you're self-investing. Your sweat equity has value. If you're going to run it and you do it, you have value in that business plan and business proposal, and you show that, because your sweat equity has value. And that's what I use as my biggest strength. Is I'm in the trenches. I know how to do it, and that has value. So don't be afraid to put that in your proposal and in your business plan.
Excellent, excellent. Very true. All right. Well, we've come to the end. We're going to close out here. I want to thank everybody again. I want to thank Jeff for being our guest here today at the Native American Development Center and to talk about his business. And like I said, anybody has any questions, give us a call, give us an email, get in touch with us, stop on by the center here if you have to. All righty. Thank you, Jeff. All right. We will talk again.
No problem. Good luck, everybody. Don't be afraid to swing for the fences.
All righty. Take care,
Later.
everybody. Bye-bye.